Hello everybody, my name is Morten Farrisrand and today I'm going to teach you some fat chords. Okay, so before we get started, let's look at just the regular jazz chords. I recommend that you get the PDF. There's a link in the description of this video. You can follow that and get to the PDF of this lesson named Fat Chords. If you just want to follow along without it and try that, you can do that, of course. If you're advanced enough to do that, that should be fine. But the first line of the PDF, that's like common jazz chords. Now we're playing a blues in the key of F. So we have F7, B flat 7, to F7, C minor 7, F7, to B flat 7. Now I'm saying what the chord sheet would probably say. It would just say 7. Obviously I'm playing, when it says F7, I'm playing an F9. In this case, and when it says B flat 7, in this case I'm playing B flat 13. So if you're not familiar with how we build jazz chords around having the third and the seventh on the middle two strings like this, if you're not completely familiar with that, I recommend, I actually have a 10-part course on that you can get. I'll put the link in the description also. It's called Jazz Comping for Beginners, and that's just, if you're new to this kind of playing chord, this way of playing chords, you should check that out, because this is something you really need to know, like the back of your hand. This is something you need to be familiar with. In short, if you look at the chords that I'm playing here on the top line, which is the basic jazz chords, I'm playing all the chords has this tritone here in the middle. This is for F, this is the third and seventh, and when we go to B flat, they switch place, so seventh and third. And it's very common to have this like a chord for the jazz chords, and then we can put color notes on top of that. So the ninth in that case, and 13th or whatever, flat 13 or whatever you want to, sharp 9, flat 9. It all builds on that chord. So what we're gonna do with the fat chords is to put the third and the seventh on one string set below. So we're gonna play the third and seventh on the fourth and fifth string instead. So instead of this kind of vibe, moving this one down an octave, so you get a bit more like fatness on the bottom there. If you look at the basic chords, we have the root, right? And when we play with the bass player, we normally wanna avoid playing the root a little bit. So these chords, and so if you just take away the root from these chords here, they're fine, but they're a little bit thin, don't you think? I'm not saying you can play those chords, of course, but it's a little bit light compared to, right? It's a bit more meat to that. So if you look at the second line, I'll show you a couple of those chords, and the third line on the PDF, a little bit of a comping idea that you can try to practice and start using. So for the F7, we're playing this. That's the first chord on the second line of the PDF. So you see we have the seventh and the third, and then we can also get this 13th, and we have the root on top. Don't have to think about all that theory if you don't want to. You just, learn the chord. And for the B flat 9, you can see we do the same thing with the third and seventh here. We just move it down one half step and we get this chord. It's a different chord shape, just so you're aware. So in this case we get the third, seventh, ninth and the fifth on top. Next chord is an F9, same as the first, except we have moved this one up here. And also, I have one more chord to teach you. So it's basically, you know, it's not so many chords. And that's to lower this 13th to flat 13th, and that's giving us a half altered chord, like flat 13 with natural 9. Very cool chord. Okay, so that's kind of the, you know, that's basically the chords I wanted to show you. And I'll show you a way to use, a really nice way to use that, particularly maybe that half altered to transition, because that's what I'm going to use it for in the example on the third line. So on the F7 we're playing, starting with this chord here, the regular unaltered, and very common, you know, transitioning to the next chord, right? That sounds very familiar to you, I would suppose. We're just making a little bit of a movement by altering that chord. So we have F7, half altered, B flat 7. Now the next two chords in that bar, right? It's the same shape, so we're just moving it, you know, parallel. So it's a little bit interesting how you hear this. Do you just hear it like a movement going like this, like the same chord moving, or do you hear that we're kind of suggesting something else? To me, this sounds like this is a root, right? To me, this kind of sounds like we're doing a G, C, F, like a 2-5-1 into F. To F. Listen to it again. It's just, how do you hear this? It's perfectly nice, good to hear it, just like you know, common thing to do, not even in jazz, like just making a tension like that with a half note. If you think about it, and I'm not gonna get very deep into this, but if you think about what is a dominant going to a tonic, what happens there? It really is a half note resolving down one half step, right? G to C to F, right? So, you know, just listen to this a little bit. It's a little bit about having a bit more of an advanced ear. I'm guessing is what I'm getting to. A lot of talk. I'm sorry about that. So this is bar number 3, and I made just a little cute little movement into C minor. This is the C minor. As you see, you have an 11th here if you want to analyze it. And what is happening in this bar? We're going from C minor 7 to F7 to B flat 7. So this is the chord form that I showed you for the F9, approached from a half step above. And the same thing going into B flat. We're approaching that from a half step above. Right? Oops. And this chord, this is an F9, obviously. This one here is, it can be several things, but in this case, I'm gonna call it like a C half altered. So you might wonder, what is that doing here? Going to C minor. I think the reason it works is that, again, if you have this F7, this would be a really common approach into F7. You could, if you just stayed on F7, right? There's so much you can pick. You don't have to do exactly what I'm doing with this comping idea. You could just pick out this one. That's a kind of dominant feeling back to F7. In this case, I'm using it. Right? So it's kind of the same thing that altering of the first altering of the F7 when we went to B flat. Just a different chord, just create some movement. So that's the idea. There's one more thing, one more tip I thought was cool. I'll play it for you one more time. Okay, so that's the idea. What you can do here on bar 2, right? A nice idea I thought was. So it's the same, just keep the same voicing. So on guitar this is really easy, right? And that, I think maybe some players would kind of dismiss it because it's so easy. But think about it. Piano players, if they want to do this, they really have to practice it, because when you move a chord a half step on the piano, that's not easy. It's gonna look completely different, right? And they do it, they practice it, and also saxophone, moving just pattern chromatically, it's not easy. But they do it, they practice doing it, and they do it, and you know, on guitar it kind of is so easy that we think that it's not a valid thing to do, but it is, you know. It's cool. So depending on tempo, maybe the one we're playing on now is a little bit fast for this idea, but it's a cool little idea. The last thing I want to say is that if you look at the rhythmic, the rhythms that I wrote out, which is just basically very simple. You don't have to do it like that, of course. You can play, like, have a little bit more syncopated. You know, whatever you want to do, kind of to fit whatever, you know. Probably you're comping somebody, you're comping a sax player or singer or whatever. So depending on what they do, you know, you kind of be a little bit aware of kind of where the spaces you can kind of do stuff like this. But it's nice, you know. It's I think I talked a lot about when you're comping jazz guitar. Often you need to be a bit aware of what the piano player is doing. You don't want to step on their feet, but on the other side, maybe they should listen to us a little bit too. That's one thing, and another thing is that I think more and more, if there is a chord instrument, a guitar, very often there isn't another chord instrument, because you know it costs money to hire musicians, and if you have a chord instrument, you're not going to pay for another one. So that's very often the case. If you're comping on guitar, very often there is no piano player, so you need to be able to do stuff that is more interesting than just playing the chords, right? You want to play a little bit like a piano player, make some voices, you know, some interesting melodic things happen inside your comping. So this is you know, a way to do that, and yeah, have fun with it. You know, it's really cool. You should. It's no point in doing this if it doesn't excite you, right? So please be excited. All right, have a great day. See you soon. Bye bye.